I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, September the 17th, 2013. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet with U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington at the end of this month. He'll also address the UN General Assembly in New York. Netanyahu told his cabinet today about his planned visit, saying talks with the president will focus on Iran's nuclear threat. The Prime Minister said stopping the Iranian nuclear program necessitates 4 steps. 1, stopping all uranium enrichment. 2, removing all the enriched uranium. 3, closing Qom, referring to the city in Iran, with the uranium enrichment facility. 4, stopping the plutonium track. Netanyahu said in the meantime sanctions on Iran need to be strengthened. He said he plans to meet with Obama on September the 30th and then to speak at the United Nations in New York on Iran's nuclear program on October the 1st. Meanwhile, German magazine Der Spiegel reported yesterday that Iran may be willing to close its uranium enrichment facility in return for an easing of Western sanctions. Citing intelligence sources, the magazine said that Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani, might consider closing down the facility in Fordo near the holy city of Qom and allow international observers to supervise the destruction of the centrifuges if the West were to lift the sanctions it has placed on Iran's oil industry and central bank. The report further said that Rouhani could make the offer later this month at the UN General Assembly. And Prime Minister Netanyahu's office flatly denied reports yesterday that the Prime Minister had urged U.S. President Obama to accept Russia's proposal on Syria's chemical weapons. Officials said the words attributed to Netanyahu by a report in the Wall Street Journal were never spoken. Earlier yesterday, the Journal had reported that Netanyahu had urged Obama to accept Russia's offer that the Assad regime would destroy its chemical weapons to avoid a U.S. military strike. A Palestinian terror suspect was shot and killed by IDF forces late last night during a security raid in Jenin. Israeli security forces went to the West Bank city to arrest the wanted terror suspect and were faced with rioting Palestinians who threw Molotov cocktails and homemade grenades at them. The soldiers opened fire at the leaders of the riot, who were lightly injured and taken to an Israeli hospital. During the clashes, the IDF identified the suspect they had come to arrest. The suspect then fled and was shot and seriously wounded. He was then evacuated to an Israeli hospital where he later died of his injuries. A Palestinian security source later identified the victim as 20-year-old Islam al-Tubasi, and the militant group Islamic Jihad issued a statement mourning Tubasi as one of its members. The Egyptian newspaper Al-Yom Asaba reported that a senior Israeli defense official visited Cairo today to discuss the security situation in the Sinai with his Egyptian counterparts. According to the report, the meeting focused on recent developments in military operations in the Sinai, as well as the exchange of information and coordination designed to deal with smuggling and infiltration. British Prime Minister David Cameron announced that the government there will increase funding for the Holocaust Educational Trust by an additional $477,000. The extra funds will allow more students in Britain to take part in the Trust's Lessons from Auschwitz project, which allows students and teachers to visit the former Nazi concentration and death camp Auschwitz-Birkenau. Cameron also launched a new National Holocaust Commission, which will set up a permanent Holocaust memorial in Britain. The Prime Minister made the announcement at the Trust's annual fundraising dinner last night, which was also its 25th anniversary. Cameron said at a time when anti-Semitism is returning in some parts of mainland Europe, it is more important than ever that as a whole country, we do everything possible to make sure that the memory of the Holocaust is preserved from generation to generation. He also addressed the situation in Syria and said that he had supported taking military action in Syria because of the lessons of the Holocaust. Jewish organizations across the country are reaching out and helping and lending a helping hand to flood victims in Colorado. The historic flooding which hit the state last week has killed up to 6 people, with many still missing, and has displaced thousands. B'nai B'rith International has opened up its flood, tornado, and hurricane disaster relief fund to benefit the victims, and is working together with agencies and members on the ground to provide assistance. The Jewish Federations of North America allocated $50,000 in emergency aid to help the victims and opened an online donation fund as well. Jewish federations across the country are working with the Allied Jewish Federation of Colorado, as well as with the organization Nechama, a Jewish response to disaster, in order to assess the damages and start recovery operations. The leader and founder of the worldwide Kabbalah Center organization, Rabbi Phillips Berg, died today in Los Angeles after battling illness. The prominent and sometimes controversial rabbi to the stars is believed to have been 86 years old. He was known for spreading Kabbalah, a branch of Jewish mysticism, around the world to Jews and non-Jews alike, including such celebrities as Madonna and Demi Moore. The Kabbalah Center's website released a statement today saying the Rav has left us with incredible knowledge through thousands of hours of teaching, examples of courage that we will never forget, and the comfort of a Kabbalah Center that we have and can all call home. Berg is survived by his wife and 2 sons. He will be buried in the Israeli city of Tzfat, which has been associated with Kabbalah for centuries. The Jewish Week reports that Jewish organization Masbia, which operates 3 restaurant-style centers distributing kosher food to those in need, will construct sukkahs during the holiday this week and remain open throughout the week of Sukkot. This is the first time that all 3 Masbia locations in Borough Park and Flatbush, Brooklyn, and Regal Park, Queens, will all be open for the full week. The small sukkahs will only be able to accommodate a small group of people at a time, so Masbia will also provide meals to go. Masbia founder Alexander Rappaport said the group expects to give out 500 to 600 meals a day. Rappaport said in the past Masbia could not open on Sukkot due to cost and logistics, but that this year the growing need and successful fundraising combined made it possible. Parts of Season 3 of the hit TV series Homeland will not be filmed in Israel as originally planned. Ynet reports that filming was moved to Morocco due to concern over the uncertainty of the situation with Syria. Parts of the Emmy-winning show's 1st and 2nd season were filmed in Israel, and Ynet said that the show's producers in Israel were told of the decision not to film there for Season 3 over this past weekend. And finally, join Mark Golub tonight at 6:30 for a conversation he had at the Israeli Presidential Conference with the head of the Religious Action Center, Rabbi David Saperstein, who was one of the many American Jews who attended the recent conference in Jerusalem. Also later tonight on L'Chaim, Mark speaks to author Aliza Lavi, who explains how she came to compile a book of prayers of special meaning to Jewish women and the reaction that the book has had. It's called A Jewish Woman's Prayer Book. That's on L'Chaim tonight at 9 o'clock here on Shalom TV and shalomtv.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, September the 17th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.